Good morning, friends, and welcome to my channel, In All Seasons Homestead. As we approach Thanksgiving, there's much to do here at our house. My husband took off for a couple of weeks from work. We've been working on a couple of projects in the house and outside. We've also taken off of school because one of our projects has to do with remodeling and redoing our schoolroom area and parts of our basement. My oldest son has stayed on top of most of his schoolwork, except for a wood splitting day and a fencing project. On most mornings, I start off by making a pretty hearty breakfast. Depends what we're doing that day. There's a couple of days that I've just done quick breakfasts, but on this particular day and a couple of other days, I made a big breakfast because my husband and my son were working really hard on the fence lines, ripping out an old fence and repairing a new fence and putting in some bracing. We've had a couple of cows escape, and so that's kind of a top priority. Here I'm just making biscuits, gravy, and bacon. And my go-to biscuit recipe, I usually double it. Doubled it is 3 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 2/3 cup milk, 1/3 cup oil, and then I preheat the oven at 375, and I bake them for about 20 minutes. Oh, I just realized that I said the milk and the oil. You have to double those. And then I like to layer my biscuits. That way you don't have to cut them. You just peel them apart at the end. And then you can put butter or honey or jelly or just gravy on top of the biscuits or on both sides of the biscuits. And here I'm just cleaning up my mess. I have a nice little scraper that helps get the dough and the flour off quickly, and I just rub my rolling pin with flour to get that cleaned off. And then I started the bacon while the biscuits were in the oven, and my kids wanted some chocolate milk. So for about a half a gallon, I put 2 tablespoons of dark cocoa, about 2/3 cup sugar, and I put that in just a little hot water to mix it real good. And then I add the milk at the end and give it another mix. And I make the chocolate milk every 2 or 3 days when the kids are wanting it. This gravy I started from the bacon grease from the bacon that I was just making, and usually the base is just whatever I have on hand. Sometimes I make a chicken based gravy, but since I made bacon, it was from the bacon grease, and then I just added some flour and milk and then some spices to it and got it to the consistency that my daughter likes, which is pourable but thick. And then you can see here that when you layer the biscuits, the dough, it just peels right apart and you don't have to cut it. Almost every day this past week has been pretty windy outside. I've tried many times to go outside and record videos, but the wind just makes it difficult, so I just decided to do a voiceover. And here is our wood pile that we've been working on. This is a little bit of last year's wood. So we spent a couple of days splitting and stacking wood. This right here is a little bit more of our last year's. When I started recording, everything next to the door stacked up was everything we did in a couple of days. Here are our cute little Pyrenees pups. We said goodbye to 2 this last week, and we still have 7 left. My brother took 1, and then we sold another one. I've had about 3 or 4 people interested, but they have yet to come, and we're expecting one person after Thanksgiving to come pick out a puppy. Actually, 2 people. So my little boy loves these puppies. He plays with them every day, but it's time to start saying goodbye to them. They have been so much fun. We all have really enjoyed them. They're just such a smart, cuddly, sweet litter. And I'm going to take you into my garden right here. There's nothing left to see. It is cleared out and very sad and barren. Right there is my garlic for next year. I have 2 beds of garlic, and then this is what's left of the broccoli. I think I got maybe 4 freezer bags full, I think. And this is after the cows came. They escaped from the fields into our yard and snuck into the garden and had a cabbage and Brussels sprout snack. The broccoli is now ripped out. What's left of it, there's the Brussels sprouts that the cows pretty much ate all the leaves off of them. But and there's the cow prints. They just had prints everywhere, and looks like they really enjoyed themselves. But yes, all this broccoli is gone now. It's in the freezer, and my husband has been working this past week on bringing manure and tilling in the garden. There is some lettuce peeking up, and some radishes, and some spinach. They're all still very small. And we've had about 3 hard frosts and a couple of light frosts already, and the calendula flowers are still going. They look beautiful, and they're very green, and the cows did not touch them when they escaped. Hopefully I can get out there and harvest the unexpected flowers that I've had. I didn't know they were quite so hardy. I've never had them last that long before. And then I have a few more snow peas. They've given us just a few handfuls as a snack. And this is the other garlic bed I have planted for next year. And then this is what's left of the herb garden. The lavender still looks great, and the rosemary looks great, but everything else is just drying up and looks quite dead. The comfrey is still there. And here are our 3 garden beds. This middle bed here is what the sweet potatoes were in. And you can see it's still rocky and even has some clay, but it gave me a really good harvest. I was very happy with the size and quantity that I got, and my husband has filled up these 3 beds, and we've got them ready for next spring. And this whole area now is all tilled with fresh manure. So this is right before he worked the soil, and I deeply appreciate that. It makes me really excited for what will come next spring. And I think I'm going to rotate my broccoli and cabbage and kind of my whole spring garden over to this side, which has never been on this side before. This is just a 2-year-old plot, so it's never seen anything besides corn, pepper, and tomatoes. And we cut down our mulberry tree right there. We tried to graft it. It did not work. It was too late in the year. So we just had to cut it all the way down because we can't get a hay bale into the cows on the other side of the fence when the tree was tipped over and hanging in the driving area. And those are all of our cattle panels that we took off from the tomatoes, and we just stacked them up next to the fence for now. And here is our tom turkey. I also said goodbye to 2 of my Narragansett hens. I traded them to a friend who wanted to get rid of her two guinea hens. And I've been wanting a few more guineas this past year, and she didn't want guineas, she wanted turkeys, so it turned out to be a perfect trade. My brother is actually going to be doing the turkey for Thanksgiving this year, so I ended up just trading the hens instead of butchering. And here are our cows. We've moved them back up to this field next to the house for a while. They've escaped. That's why we've had some fencing projects to do this week. And I'm working on stacking the pile of wood right here next to our back door. This pile is actually two piles. There's a first layer and a second layer, and they're about 5 to 6 feet tall, and I would say maybe 12 feet out. And this will be our pile when the weather gets really, really bad, so we just can walk out the door, grab our piles of wood. And there's my daughter and my husband and my son splitting wood. My daughter and I took turns stacking and bringing the wood next to the house. And here comes our 3 visitors. These 3 does actually belong to a neighbor of ours. He brought them over to breed with our buck, and they're very, very sweet. And I hope that our buck did his job. So these girls will have some cute little kids next year. And they get vanilla wafers every morning from their owner, so we tried to do that as well. We bought a couple boxes of vanilla wafers to treat them with. Here is our solar dryer or air dryer. This is about, now I'm forgetting what the dimensions are. I think about 2 feet wide and maybe 6 feet tall. And it has had our serranos and our jalapenos. Right now it has 7 trays. It can hold up to 14. We just haven't finished any more trays. It's doing a wonderful job with the elderberry and all of the peppers this year. Zucchini, I never mastered it. I think the air is just very humid here in Missouri, but any zucchini that I wanted to turn into flour, it just molded. I've tried with the skin, without the skin, and cutting it various thickness, but it's just not working well with zucchini. But for serranos and jalapenos and berries, I did some flowers, and I also dried some seeds out. It is just doing wonderful. And the peppers still, this is the last harvest, so they still have a ways to go. And I plan on just rolling that inside our house next to our wood stove. Maybe not too close, but I thought that the air and the temperature would further dry them out. But outside, it's just working great. You can roll it into the sun or into the shade or into a windy day or out of the wind. And we just have it on some rollers, obviously. And it's just really lightweight and easy to use. And here's a little Amazon greenhouse I bought. I just got this because I want to try to see if I can save some of my porch plants, like geraniums and things like that, and maybe put it up next to the house in the sun. So I want to see if they'll survive the winter, so I won't have to buy any more porch plants next year. We hope to get a greenhouse built next year, but for now, this little greenhouse will have to do. We'll see how it works over this winter, or if I need to move it inside. And Mr. Peacock follows us around everywhere we go, and so does this cat. This cat wants lots of attention, and he's very jealous of the puppies. There's our Mama Pyrenees with her little ones following close behind her. She can't really find a moment's rest now. And here is our Kitchen Queen wood stove. We recently took it to an Amish man that repairs wood stoves, and we brought it back, and we've got it hooked up and cleaned, and we've been running it for 2 or 3 days. It's holding its heat so much better. It had a few cracks on the inside of the main wood part, and I think that's probably why it wasn't holding the heat very well. And while the stove was out being maintained, we worked on this wall behind the stove, and we had to do something that would be okay holding the heat, because this stove gets very, very hot. And this is just a concrete mix, and we have a print brick roller that we rolled over top of the wet concrete, and I just put some white paint on each brick, and I wanted it to look really imperfect and rustic. I still have a little bit more paint on this wall here and behind the water heater. I really, really like it. I wanted it to look like an older house. It didn't have to be perfect. It was kind of our only chance to really work on that wall with the stove being out of the house. It's extremely heavy. It's cast iron, and it was a lot of work to get it in and out of the house. But now our home will be nice and toasty this season, and in case we lose electricity during a bad storm or whatnot, then this is always a great backup and to use, if the electricity goes out. We still have the front bar that we need to put back on. I think it's just to kind of keep you from bumping in directly to the wood stove. We need to stick that back on there, but other than that, she's been working great. I was never really able to use the oven on the right. I think since it had the crack in it, the oven just did not hold the heat very well. And so I'll be able to experiment with the oven now to see how it's working. And on the stovetop, it's pretty easy. On the right side, your food, it just simmers. It doesn't get hot. And if you want something to boil or cook fast, the more left you go, the hotter it gets. On the left side, it's just right over the fire part, so it gets really hot. So, you just move your pot around on the stove top according to how hot you want to cook something. And just ignore my finger pointing at the bricks. I've already talked about that. I think I was talking about the painting the bricks and how we finish the bricks, and I'm pointing all over the place as I'm actually talking about cooking on the stovetop, because I decided to do a voiceover instead. So this is my grain mill. I use it for coffee, and obviously I have this electric coffee grinder. Works great, use it all the time. This grain mill actually does corn and wheat berries and nuts and all kinds of things. It works wonderful, but we kind of have been using it as a backup coffee grinder because, in case the electricity goes out, we can't use our electric grinder, or sometimes appliances just don't last very long. Every time I buy something from Walmart, it really just lasts 4 to 6 months. If I'm lucky, maybe 1 year. I like it. It's like 30 seconds to grind the coffee beans, but a backup grinder. Well, the problem is we've been using it as a coffee grinder, and I can't use it for anything else. I can, but then you would have to take it all apart, wash it out, just to grind some flour or something. So this little grinder here, it was actually in one of my thrift haul videos. I got it for $1, and I was looking at it, and I decided, I should go ahead and try this. That way I can keep my big one open and clean for flour or, everything I've already said. And I put the little grinder together. It took me a little bit of adjusting, but there was no rust. Everything worked really well. And so now if my little electric thingy breaks, then I'll have my new coffee grinder. And I had to, let's see. Yeah, it came with 2 parts. A wider part and a smaller part. So I use them both, and one is more coarse and one is more fine. Here is, I kind of moved it. I already took it off, so I put it back on the counter, but I didn't tighten it all the way. But it works really smooth for grinding coffee. It makes the coffee really fluffy and soft, and this bowl fits under it just nice. But I went ahead and removed it and cleaned it up and took it back downstairs and put it next to my pantry on my other hutch. And now with this little coffee grinder, I actually have quite a bit more room. This little bowl did not quite catch the coffee grounds very well, so I did put another low bowl under it, but it's working really well, and the kids like to come in and play with it, and I rarely have to grind any coffee because the kids always get to it before I do. But I'm pretty proud of my $1 fine. Does anyone else ever have problems with their appliances breaking often? If so, just comment below and tell me the brands that you like or the ones that you'll never buy again, and let me know what you do as a backup if something breaks. So here I'm just going to try a little bit of beans, and I realized that it gets stuck. But all you have to do is just reverse it a little bit, and then I adjusted the nut one more time, and it runs pretty well now. But if any time that it gets hard like that, you just reverse it and then go forward, and it works pretty well. I just want to say thank you for joining me and remind you to like and subscribe and leave a comment, and happy Thanksgiving.